Cooler months in a cool climate can be pretty bracing. It's taken me a bit of time to get used to them. And we have months of hard frosts. We've got top temperatures below about 10 degrees for days on end. And of course, we get more than our fair share of drizzle. But given these cool seasons last, well, more than 6 months of the year, you've got to love them. And I've got plenty to do. For me, this time of the year is a bit of a tightrope walk. The balance between my maintenance gardener trained brain wanting to tidy up and clear things away, and all of those benefits of leaving things where they are. So in this garden bed, for example, there's lots of things that are really past their best, and I would be tempted to cut them back and tidy them up. Take this Muehlenbeckia. Now, truthfully, I sort of regret planting this. I wanted it to form a really fast-growing and dense evergreen cover, but to do that, it needs a lot more maintenance than I'm willing to give it. Really, to look at its best, I should really be pruning it right now, and more times through the growing months. But what I have observed with this plant is the little birds love it. There's actually a nest in this mess of stems, and I've noticed all the small birds land on the fence, check out the garden before coming into it. So even though the plant is really not doing the job for me, it is doing the job in other ways. I'll leave these for later. I've actually become really obsessed with evergreen shrubs and trees since living in this climate, because it was once a Banksia woodland here, but now, after so much European influence, the gardens are full of deciduous plants. Of course, they're great for shading in summer and letting the sun in winter, and some of them produce incredible autumn colour. But what they can't do is provide shelter to the birds when they need it. So late winter, early spring, they're looking for nesting sites, and they need somewhere to hide. Of course, native plants are an obvious evergreen choice. I've planted lots of things like this tea tree, which is fast growing, really dense foliage, and can be clipped into a hedge. And this Elaeagnus has actually been a bit of a surprise. I bought this as a prop for a shoot years ago, and like so many plants, it just gets plonked in anywhere, stuffed down in this corner next to the compost. And as you can see, it's a pretty amazing plant. It grows in every direction. I think it actually could end up being a bit of a thug, but it does respond really well to pruning. Some people do hedge this plant. And of course, this dense cover of foliage is quite useful. And then just this year, it started flowering as well. I smelt these well before I saw them, which means they are absolutely packed full of nectar. I reckon this plant is a bit of an unexpected win in this cold climate garden. It's giving great shelter and lots of nectar for the birds. I reckon it gets to stay. When it comes to evergreens, there is always room for another Correa in any garden that I'm involved with. While I'm at it, why not another? While I'm obsessed with evergreens, I definitely know that this time of the year is the best time to put deciduous trees in the ground. And I've got a really special one that is well overdue planting. It's actually a peach tree that I grew from seeds, given to me by a gardener many years ago. Now, I had a successful crop of seedlings and I've distributed them all over the state. I've got friends growing this particular variety. But this wonky old tree, I've still got it in this root pruning pot. So today I want to get it in the ground. Both nectarines and peaches are really marginal in this cold climate, so I've chosen a warm and sheltered spot. They're also particularly fussy about drainage. So in my heavy clay soil, I'm mounding it up with added compost to make sure the water can drain away. Now, I can't say this is my best work. The truth is I gave the straighter, better trees away, but I'm still keen to get this in the ground and see how it goes. Now, I've got this growing in what's known as a root pruning pot, and these little holes around the side mean that if the roots get to the edge, they actually just die off and branch. So it should have a reasonably healthy root system, even though it's been growing in a pot. You can see it's a little bit dry, but these roots are actually really quite healthy. There's lots of young roots there, so I'm going to flip it over and take the base plate off. And it might feel a bit brutal, but when you're buying a bare root tree at this time of the year, it's literally been wrenched out of the soil. It has very few roots on it. So I am going to root prune this. So you can see that these are actually quite fibrous young roots. It hasn't circled around, which is fantastic. So what I want to do is further prune it. So I'm just gently using this fantastic Japanese serrated knife and just cutting away, I don't know, about an inch of the root system all around. And then I'm going to slice the bottom off like a piece of bread. You can see that I haven't really dug a deep hole here, because to do that would be like digging a bucket of death for this tree. Because I want it to drain, I'm instead sitting it almost on the surface. I've excavated a little bit around the edge, so it's actually hopefully going to grow some roots out wide, and then I'll mound that soil up to cover the root system. When it comes to pruning and shaping this tree, I'm, a little bit puzzled. When you get a stick from the nursery bare root, it's usually quite simple. You'll see some really clear points to make it shoot. And pruning at this time of the year will absolutely get a growth response. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to thin it out and take the top out of the tree, and then next year I'll be able to choose from some of that responded growth and really start to build the framework. I'll also take out anything that's kind of congesting in the middle to open up the inside of the tree. Pruning at this time of the year is actually quite obvious in that buds that are dormant along a stem will show you what direction they're going to point in. So when you remove the tip, which is the dominant bud, you should push the energy down into the next bud that you prune to, and that should shoot in the direction the bud is facing. End up going too far. All right, walk away now. I'm going to see how it responds, and hopefully this little stick will grow into a fantastic, delicious, beautiful, homegrown peach tree. Actually, I'm just going to take the whole centre out and we'll see what happens. I reckon the only way to beat the winter blues is to go outside and get to work in the garden. And there is so much to do. Lots of jobs, of course, but also a beautiful opportunity to see your garden from a different perspective, celebrate that decay and observe everything that's going on. Your garden, if you look, can really surprise you. Who knows? That peach, it might even live.